So good afternoon, everyone. And once again, I welcome all of you in the 13th Conventions India Conclave. And this is the second day and the panel discussion, virtual one. So all those who are watching me physically and virtually, a warm welcome once again from India Convention Promotion Bureau. So going forward, virtual one, first session, we have role of services providers in meeting the demands of MICE industry post-COVID-19. And the moderator is Mr. Nimit Soni. A warm welcome, Mr. Nimit Soni, who will be
Thank
moderating the complete session. I would like to share a little brief about him. So with an experience of over a decade in the Indian exhibitions, events, and conference industry, Nimit Soni has come a long way. He is third generation in family business of event and exhibition production. His company, Paras Art Studio, is pioneer in the industry with an experience of over 60 years. His dedication to detail for event planning has helped him to achieve new heights in the business. His eye for detail and meticulously planning has helped him to win clients' trust over years. He has worked on numerous PM and President consulate events, large-scale government and non-government events, scaling from few hundred to 20,000 packs. He has held post of Honorary Treasurer in IESA, a national body that guides the service industry with over 300 members across India, and is current General Secretary in IESA. With a round of applause, we welcome Mr. Nimit Soni. And the other panelist we have in this session is Mr. Rohit Sarogi, Director and Co-founder, Design Desk. Mr. Rohit is the Director and Co-founder of Design Desk, one of India's leading exhibition stand design specialists. In the last 15 years, Design Desk have accomplished 1,400 plus projects across 30 countries, totaling over 500,000 square feet and winning over 25 design awards. As long-standing members to international associations like IFES Europe, EDPA USA, and IEIA and IESA in India, Design Desk is well-networked and updated with international exhibition and events industry. Their clients include the who's who of the Indian corporate sector, including Reliance Industries Limited, Aditya Birla Group, Raychem, RPG, Mitsubishi Electric, Associated Capsules Group, ACG, Swarovski, D-Decor, and many more. So welcome, Mr.
Rohit.
Welcome, Mr. Rohit Sarogi, yes. Next, we have with us Mr. Santosh KJ Kumar, Director, Violet Worldwide, Mr. Ravi Barotkar, Managing Director, Activation, and Mr. Ashish Chagota, Executive Director, Concept Conferences Private Limited. So Ashish has an experience of 14 years in the MICE industry. In this tenure, he has been traveling worldwide, organizing conventions, participating in seminars and events. He is co-founder of Concept Conferences Private Limited, which was established in December 2013. He has been invited as speaker by Amity Business School, MILT Congress, and Travel Student Festival 2020. Under the banner of Concept, he successfully concluded various conventions and special events in India and abroad. Ashish's in-depth knowledge and passion for MICE lead him to get developed software which focuses and caters to various requirements and conferences. Requirements of conferences. He was successful in changing the traditional ways to organize corporate and association meetings, and I personally have witnessed it a couple of times while working with Mr. Ashish Chagota. So nice to have you here, and a warm welcome to all the panelists. Mr. Nimit Soni, please take forward the session. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you, Shefali, for introducing me, and I thank you, Team ICPB, the governing board members, Girish ji, to give us a chance. And for the first time, a topic like this is being covered of a role of service providers to meet demand post-COVID in the MICE industry. And so we all know businesses across the world have suffered badly because of COVID. And events and exhibitions went into lockdown with the entire country and all other industries. And today, with more than, I would say, 5 rounds of unlock, virtually all other industries have reopened at some or the other level, but except for us. Uh, our industry has witnessed a situation like never before. I would say that I've seen quite a few companies have actually shut down, and others are looking at other businesses to survive. And in fact, a lot of service providers I know have expanded their horizons to altogether different verticals, from virtual events to opening restaurants and doing other things. So that's, we are also looking at the other side, that we are able to see people with different talents who have come in this last 6 8 months. Though recent government announcements has given some allowance for events and B2B exhibitions, but having full-fledged exhibitions to be organized, or having full-fledged conferences to be organized with the same number of delegates, to like when we talk about a national conference, about 10,000 doctors or 10,000 participants, government or non-government, uh, there's a still big question mark. Do we still look at these many numbers to participate, those many exhibitors, like 200, 400, 500 exhibitors to participate? So that's still a big question mark. So the idea to do this panel discussion was to how can we gain the same confidence from the exhibitors, the delegates, the visitors. And it's a big challenge for the entire industry and all the stakeholders, including uh, organizers, venues, service providers. So it's a challenge we need to commonly address and tackle. So when we talk about service providers, it's a wide range. It's a segment which ranges from small to big, depending on their work and the work they do. So we have venues also, we have infrastructure construction companies also, exhibition stand design companies also. We've got fabrication agencies also, lighting companies, AV companies, carpeting, and the list is never ending. So today we have such a great panel consisting of organizer come venue, I would say, PCO, leading PCO company, infrastructure construction company, and stand design company. So I will now quickly introduce, although all the panelists, they are they're big in their own industry. So no, no, no introduction is technically required, but I would, it's a pleasure to introduce our panel. Uh, Ravi Brodkar ji, he's managing director for Active, and he also manages Sidco. And as organizers, they are one of the biggest organizers for Krishi Agriculture Mela, which is held in Nagpur. And they also, from time to time, they do a lot of government exhibitions. They work as professional exhibition organizers, from from small to large scale, like International Science Festival. And as venue, they manage Sidco on turnkey basis. And welcome, Mr. Brodkar.
Thank you, David.
Okay, then we have Mr. Ashish Jagota from Concept Conferences. Hi, Ashish. Thank you for joining and taking out time.
Thank
Concept
you, David.
Concept Conferences needs no introduction. So they are one of the leading PCOs in the country today. And when it comes to handling events of handling, I would say, medical conferences of 10,000, 50,000 doctors. So they are one of the leading players in the country today. And really thank you, Ashish, for taking out time to join us today. Then
Thank you, David.
we have Santosh from Violet Worldwide, Hyderabad. They are one of the leading players based out of Hyderabad, and they excel in providing large scale infrastructure for large scale events or exhibition or conferences. Thank you, Santosh, for joining us in this panel discussion.
Thank you, Nimit. Thank you, ICPB.
And then we have Mr. Rohit Sarogi from Design Desk. You have been already introduced for given a brief introduction about Rohit, and they are one of the leading companies for exhibition stand design, and they do a lot of projects in India and abroad. And they excel in doing stand construction and interior work. So now, taking this discussion forward, since organizers are the common link between all the stakeholders, so we will start with Mr. Brodkar first. And Mr. Brodkar, the common question which is there in today's, everyone's mind, where do you see last 6 8 months, no exhibition has practically been held. And next, if we talk about next 4 to 5 months, even there has been some allowance on the different parameters. But if we have to, I would say in a simple layman language, if we have to design a flow plan, what parameters would you want to keep in mind? Because in today's date the rules are defined in a certain way, and you would want to do an exhibition next year, April or May. What are the primary concerns you think organizers have, and how can we go about it?
Yes, Namit, that's the real concern. You rightly have posed your first question. But let me begin with, actually extending my greetings to the ICPB for organizing this hybrid event. Because as you rightly mentioned in your introductory speech, that what is important is the building that confidence that yes, again, this B2B meetings, exhibitions, events can happen. And I think what we have seen in the last more than 6 months now, a total, completely, there was a complete disruption in all these gatherings. So it's good that we have all seen many cancellations, many postponements, and now at least on a hybrid note, but restarting this activity will certainly help in some way or the other to build the confidence. I think this is very important. uh, I will come to the planning of the floor, but before that, I feel what is needed today is this confidence that you feel like going ahead with organizing something. Because though the government guidelines have allowed B2B exhibition to some extent with some restriction, some SOPs, but what we are finding on the ground level, that still, like we had scheduled our agrovision, as you rightly mentioned, that Kushimela, it was scheduled to be in November end. Till 1 month before, we were quite hopeful, yes, it may happen with some restriction, some limitations, but we'll be able to do at least. But because of the local state government's guidelines and other thing, we had to postpone it. We don't know. Now it's scheduled for the February. Another very big event we used to do annually with the support of Karnataka government was Bangalore Technology Summit, a huge show, very large international participation, very good domestic participation. Again, that is completely changed to a virtual platform now. Is again going to be in this the next month, that's in November, but they were not even ready for the hybrid. They wanted, now it's completely going to be on a virtual platform. So there is no physical exhibition happening. And we all know, though, yes, this technological advancement we have all accepted, it will certainly add value in many ways to our exhibitions. But I think when we say exhibitions, when we do such kind of organizations, B2B meetings, still this personal touch has its own magic, its own importance. So unless that happens, the real effect will not happen, because we have seen many, we have done, we have all, we are a part of various events which has happened virtually in the past couple of months, and we all know how it has number one, except keeping us engaged and keeping our contact alive with the stakeholders, how much they have added to the business or how much they have really impacted is something which really needs to be studied. So, so this is the background I'm putting before you. So now what is the first priority is to again restart the events wherein a major chunk happens physically. For that, whatever precautions are needed, whatever an event organizer is supposed to do, and here I think it's not only the event organizer, but here perhaps we will all have to team up. The venue operators, event organizers, other service providers, because there are a lot of concerns amongst the, the either the participants or visitors, or I will mostly say it's most of the mainly the mind block of the government, because we see here the uh, malls are opening up, the markets are opening up, the metros, buses, they are opening up, there people are getting crowding, the crowds are seen everywhere. But as far as this is concerned, where we can actually properly restrict the physical distancing can be properly maintained in the exhibitions, because all are very elite business kind of delegates. But here somehow government is not coming forward in that way to demonstrate, because though there are many private players, private exhibition, all this happens, but we have seen after this kind of disruptions or lockdown, when there are various kind of advisories, with many limitations. After this, suppose if we are to regain that strength of our events on an original level, I think the initiatives has come from the government, because in whatever countries like in Europe, they had earlier opened up at some places. There also the government trade associations bodies had taken some initiative. That's why they opened up, though they had a problem. But unfortunately, in some of the places, again they are now shutting it down. So that's again a cause of concerns. So on this backdrop, we really cannot push even the government to issue the guidelines and make it happen. So I think for next couple of months at least will be wait and watch kind of situation, and it is the time wherein all these concerns people, like as I said, ki, venue operator, event organizers, service providers have to come together and have to have a proper understanding that we will be following up the SOPs very strictly, very rigidly, and we have to demonstrate by doing certain exhibitions. And that is why I said ki my greetings and compliments to the ICBB that taking this first step, and demonstrating this hybrid event. See, the scaling up will happen. The different events will have a different scale, but at least this is the beginning. And when I feel that more event organizers should come forward and should try to demonstrate this kind of will to do the exhibition following all those guidelines. And here, as you rightly said, when we plan for the venue, this thing now, see, here the advantage will be the bigger venues will certainly be at the advantageous position, because they can create whatever the additional norms government is asking for, that you should have the isolation center ready, or you should be having the limited, they're allowing only 3.5 square meter per person area if they're coming together for a conference, or there can be, if you want to avoid the queues at the registration desk, we need to have the proper use of technology. Our service providers, particularly on the registration, they have to now adopt a better way, so that even for the visitors we can ask to pre-register, there are no queues. And of course I will not go into detailing like other things which have to be done, like the sanitization or the thermal checking. Now we all know, okay, this will be a mandatory thing, this will be followed. Even our layouts, I don't know, maybe the typical aisle of 3 meter, we had in fact for our agri event had proposed an aisle of 5 meter. And we had also said ki maybe we'll give maybe 1 meter extra both the side to the exhibitors, but they will display within the 3 meter area only, so that 1 meter is, suppose there are a couple of people talking to them, they will be standing in that 1 meter area, so they won't be standing in the aisle. So maybe like this we'll have to come out with the new designs, new set, so that we can have at least a good number of exhibitors, good number of visitors, following all these norms, and try to bring the business to the normalcy. But yes, I feel it's going to take some time to reimpose the confidence in the minds of people, and it all depends on the situation how it develops. Because as I said, what's happening in Europe again is really disheartening. And here also they say ki maybe after Diwali there can be another spurt. Keeping all this thing in mind, we'll have to tread very cautiously. That's what I feel.
Thank you. Very well explained, Raviji. Very well explained. And yes, as you made a point that a lot of people are already to be seen when you step out of your house and when you go to market or malls, you don't feel that COVID is on. But when it comes to our exhibition, it's just other way around.
Right.
And as per the understanding of the market, we all feel that, from the organizer's point of view, from where it all starts, if you have to plan for an event for next year, you need to start planning now. But the regulations are such that you are not able to plan only how things would work, how the floor plan should be, how many exhibitors you can take, and the kind of, everyone is scared in the entire situation, that exhibitors are not very bravely coming up and picking up spots in the exhibition. And delegates are also probably thinking twice to do should they attend or should they not attend. The whole idea is that how do we regain the same confidence from all the stakeholders. And you have rightly mentioned and given a brief overview. And now I will go into Ashish ji, are you there? Can you hear? Because yeah.
Is there?
Hi, can you hear me, Ashi?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, you're very much audible. You are trying to fix your camera for a long time, so all set?
Yeah, actually, some issue with my net. So I think if I'm
Perfectly
visible to
fine.
all of you.
We can hear you very well, and
Okay.
nothing. So okay,
Okay.
Ashi, the nation wants to know what are you up to these days. So let me give a brief introduction about Ashish. Every week, when things were normal, every week Ashish was traveling. I think 4 days a week or 5 days a week. Today in Mumbai, tomorrow in Indore, next day in Kolkata, next day in Jaipur, and then Delhi. So this has been schedule of Ashish. So nation wants to know what are you up to, Ashish, these days? What's happening?
Uh, Actually, if you say that's the nature's doing to entire industry, all my colleagues are going through the same wave, and we all are on the same boat. This actually this tragic situation has made all of us stand still. The priority of the life is now changed. It is like, you have to be safe, you have to make sure that your family members are safe. You have to, even we are in touch with all our clients. Most of the clients, most senior doctors, they're not practicing from past 7 8 months. They are doing virtual, or they are not even attending patients, having a scare in mind that they are 60 plus and this pandemic can hit them as well, or their family members. So there's too much of trauma and confusion. What to do. Everybody thinks, every now and then we have a news that the vaccine is coming up. To yesterday also I had a news with the Pfizer and the Serum Institute of India. They are planning that if it could be given, all things goes well, by December phase 3, and the government permissions are there in place, so they have the stocks ready. That's one good news, that they have stocks ready to come to the market. So they might start as early as December this year. So I'm just keeping my finger crossed. I'm going through all these news. We are trying to survive through various channels, like doing virtuals, webinars and all. But yes, I'm trying to revive in a much better way. We are doing our plannings, and whatever events are getting being postponed for next year and conferences, we are trying to do something different, and if a new phase of the events will be seen when it actually open the doors for people to come.
Thank you. So basically, when it comes to you or your company, it's if there's any large scale conference, medical conference, I would say, happening in India, then we see your name attached to that conference. So basically, you are primarily doing a lot of large scale conferences. Uh, you know, due to COVID in the current year, and we foresee the next year, there are no large scale conferences happening. So, what is the mindset of the organizers of the large scale medical conferences, the organizers, and what has been your, inputs about it? What are you, how are you taking things with the client? What are the sessions which are happening? Do you foresee large scale conferences to pick up as early as next year, like second half of the next year, or it's too early to say right now?
See, conferences getting cancelled was ought to happen. So there is nothing new what we can see with this, expect out of this pandemic situation. But yes, when we see, as been mentioned in the earlier conversations, and all the things coming up, opening up. So we are mostly attached with the medical association. So now there is a big, kind of a different mindset when we talk about events, conferences, and the medical association. Why there's a difference? Because the doctor knows inside story. So here the doctor has a mindset, maybe they have a fear to meet another doctor in person, because of what they are the frontliners. They are the one who are actually, they're on the battlefield right now, serving all of us, saving our lives. So that is more difficult thing, to go and tell a doctor, things have opened, and let's start doing a conference, and let's have an event. Why not this year? So many things are happening. Government has given a permission. Again, that comes in because they know inside story. They know what exactly it is. They know the complications, implications of the vaccine which is going to come in, and what would be the role, how would it affect the people. Even see, they are the most who've been suffering a lot. So because their families, I know so many doctors and their families who've been affected, infected, or maybe on the verge, or maybe they don't know when it will be their turn to come in. So that is all, it is a scary feeling among all. But yes, going ahead, they all are motivated. Though virtual and hybrid, I'm sure you're going to discuss in later sessions, but yes, it is not a complete mindset of them. Everybody is waiting, and everything is getting postponed by months, not a year. So they are actually, their thoughts process and everything what we do, okay, let's start with something. We are doing some scientific programs from past conferences and all. They have started coming up and talking, let's finalize the faculty, let's finalize the what could be the nice theme, how we're going to do it. But yes, there could be an impact depending upon because this vaccine is going to boost up. Definitely, whether it serves a purpose, whether it creates antibody or not, but it's going to boost up a confidence among the people that yes, things are, you can go, you can meet, you can talk. Because recently our pharmaceutical companies have also started their travel. They have started going and meeting the doctor in person. Before, those meetings were not happening. So, everything was through webinar or virtual, but now they have started and meeting the doctors and, trying to, start a dialogue. And with God grace, 2 days before, we also have started receiving some kind of queries for the, conferences going to come in. So it is every day I see things are improving. The mindset is slightly changing, and we are the one which is, the one who is first to be affected by any kind of such disaster and last to recover, as we all are going through all this. We are living this dream every day. So I'm just hoping and keeping finger crossed.
Thank you for giving a brief overview how it has impacted the conference industry and the medical industry in such. So, what do you think? So we have got service provider, we have got Santosh, we've got Rohit also on the same panel. So, keeping in mind that, well, let us look at a scenario that we are looking at large scale conferences. When we talk about large scale conferences, these conferences, they require a lot of infrastructure to be created. At most of the times, when we are talking about 15,000 doctors or 10,000 doctors conference, or for that matter, not only doctors, a normal conference also, and there's no, such, like in most of the cities, there's no such venue to cater these kind of, requirement. So when we look at about, a company like, how these infrastructure companies, how they create the venue and they create the entire conference or the exhibition venue. There are a lot of service providers which are there who do their job. So starting from the infrastructure companies, then they've got, there are a lot of exhibition stands are there which are constructed by different exhibition stand companies. Then we have got audiovisual teams to work there. We've got carpet teams to lay carpets there, lighting companies. So, in nutshell, when we look at about conference to start, let us say, as early as, let us say, next year, by second half of next year. And when we talk about large scale events or conferences, what do you expect from these service providers? What is, what would be the expectations of a PCO? And when we talk about PCO, so we consider PCOs as co-organizers. So your expectations, we as service provider will have to match your expectations. And because you would be the guiding force for the client, also for the organizers also, that this is how things should be defined. So what do you think, like, what should we look at, and what should be the benchmark of the service standards when we look about, when we look at ensuring the safety protocols and other things?
See, it's a very good question, Nimit. Since you've been the one of the pioneer in the infrastructure companies, and you've been involved in so large setups which has been happening across India and abroad. So now, what the thing is, the major thing, the challenge, what I believe is going to come in, is the security of your own employee and the delegate who is going to come in. The confidence they should feel not even the people who are attending, the people who have been working with you day and night, who will be more exposed. You know, you've been working with all the laborers, or all kind of stuff, you know, coming from various towns. And so how do you first, the service provider need to ensure that, you know, we set up a SOPs. There have been SOPs which has been given to Government of India for various levels to be practiced. So those SOPs has to be put in place. Those kind of briefing has to be given from the service provider to their people, you know, around, that there has to be, you know, if they have to wear a mask, they don't have to spit around. If they feel any kind of a symptom, what they all have to do, they have to so many SOPs which needs to be followed. So the main thing which will come in place will be, you know, knowledge which you need to share with among your team, that this is what they're gonna follow. This is how our presentations to the client should be there, so that that kind of confidence building has to be there, that they need to feel, yes, there won't be any kind of health related issue when I enter into such huge gathering. Because most of these conferences, people are traveling with their families. It's not that one doctor comes and they take it, okay, it's a 3-day conference, but they are coming for 5 days, 7 days, 6 days, or they are taking extended pre and post tours. So all these service standards, starting from the airport till the entering to the venue, check-in in the hotel, because all of us are the service providers, not only the infrastructure company, but even the hotel, all the touch points, the way the hotels are maintaining now, you know, even the mics are getting sanitized after 5 minutes and 10 minutes. So when we do it a conference in an open area, same kind of similar standards we need to maintain, and we need to brief and set up a information center. We have to ensure that all the, we used to get, you know, make the venues ready, say a day prior, or maybe for a check for evening prior, you know, to set up. So now those things have to be taken up. This will take a toll, because it has to be 2 days prior would be the setup ready. 1 day last again, because everything has to be sanitized again and then packed in their boxes, respective things. So it is going to increase and costing towards the us as a vendor and not as a client. So keeping that costing implications also, because so many equipments that will come in place, whether we will be able to or not able to charge them, that is not that is immaterial, but that has to be in place. Whether it is thermal scanning, whether it is, you know, you have ample of sanitizers, ample of masks in place, whatever, you know, and whatever the key areas you have that you have to take care about the housekeeping staff, that we need to have it ensured that they are more, you know, they're checking the background of the people who have laborers who are coming from various cities, how they're coming, where you're going to make them stay. You know, all those things are very important. And it's important for us as a team to, you know, put all these things together in a kind of a presentation and put it to the client. See, this is our preparedness. This is, we ensure that there won't be any such, you know, situation among the part of a, you know, the organizing team, you know, from our end. And yes, whatever kind of cost implications, and from the venue side, even if we are doing a closed door, or from the our end when we are putting our equipments for lease, I mean, we're charging for 3 days and providing it for 5 days, vice versa.
Your point actually takes me to, you know, we've got Santosh here from Violet. So Santosh, you know, as Ashish explained briefly, you know, what are the expectations from the service providers. So already we know, you know, when we talk about services like creating infrastructure, or for that matter, any sort of service which is being provided by any service provider, you know, what do you like? Where do you see companies like yours to you know, match this kind of expectation? And you know, how we as an industry for service providers, when it comes to creating infrastructure, how we can you know, match the expectations of the organizers for creating a infrastructure which is COVID compliant, And also, that's number one. And number two, what do you think is going to be the cost impact on this? And is our market ready for an increase in cost, for acceptance of increase in cost? Where do we, because as it is, when we talk about our on when things were normal, as it is, we were always facing challenges on the cost factor. As it is, there was a cutthroat competition, and everything was on neck to neck. So where do you one, how viable it is? I mean, how technically, like how viable it is, what all can be done and what all can be expected. Second, what would be the direct cost impact on this? Like, how do you think that we can overcome that factor? So over to you, Santosh.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, Nimit. Most of the points have been very detailedly explained by Rohitji as well as Ashish. From the organizer's point of view, as well as at the same time from a PCO's point of view. As Rohitji has pointed that they have been planning. Is it clear? Am I audible?
Raviji, yeah. Raviji.
Oh, sorry. I'm really sorry. Yeah. That there is a need for a 5-meter aisle. So, which is like very, very well understood. There should be a 5-meter aisle. And today in one of the panel discussions, one of the speaker was pointing out that earlier, whenever we are planning, we are doing a layout for 1,000 delegates, our calculation used to be like 1 square meter per delegate. But now it has increased to keep that social distancing, everything in place, we will need to have at least 3.5 square meters per delegate. So this is what's happening is the square meter area per person is increasing, which will definitely, there will be a big increase in the budget. And again, when we are talking about exhibitions, so 3-meter aisle space, which is a very standard practice in almost all the national and international exhibitions. Now we have to increase it by 5 or 6 meters, keeping the delegate attendance in mind. And then in addition, while we are designing any layout for any exhibition, there is a big emphasis on the layout design. That is like, in my opinion, there should also be a gap between each stall, at least like 2 meters. So to avoid that crowd. And again, in fact, earlier our approach used to be like to gather more and more delegates at one point to see that more number of people are coming under one roof or doing a good networking within the venue premises. But whereas now, one small example, when we are talking about an exhibition, which is a very which sees a lot of footfall, be it a medical conference or any international or national trade fair. So we need to design the layout in such a way that there can only be an entry. There will not be an exit from the same entrance gate, which means the layout, while you are proceeding, means you are just proceeding, you are going, and that will lead you to an exit. You will not be coming back in the same aisle area. So this is one thing which needs to be maintained in order to avoid that kind of a crowd. And as a people like now, all are accustomed to the new normal, that is maintaining the minimum hygiene standards, be it thermal checking or sanitization, all that stuff, like each and everybody are following up. So there is no need for me to emphasize on that. But then while we are working on a very large conference of 6,000-7,000 delegates and above in places like be it Bhubaneswar or Patna or places where there is no proper convention center. So as it is, we face a lot of challenges while we are building up this big infrastructure and to accommodate so many halls. We almost built about 16 to 18 halls in different sizes, maintaining temperature, power and all. Now this is an additional responsibility for all the service providers to ensure that whatever the material which is coming into the venue to be sanitized there itself. So those things to be followed very spiritually to ensure that there is no spread of virus within the venue. And as far as the scientific hall layouting is concerned, definitely like we will need to take the guidance from the organizer as well as the PCOs in making the layout. What kind of distance are we going to maintain between each delegate? So these things, I'm sure, like from time to time, our industry bodies are floating and coming out with SOPs. So we need to follow up all the SOPs in a very religious manner, and we got to implement all those rules from time to time in building up infrastructure for infrastructure for conferences of various sizes.
Right. So, just I understand, but what do you think is going to be the cost impact? It's going to, how do you see, like, or is our industry ready for an increase in cost for the, for ensuring that we are able to make ourselves COVID compliant?
See, as far as cost is concerned, as you already mentioned, as it is, even during the normal times, we are always given a certain budget, and we are always given an organizer asked us to complete the project within that particular budget. So that is how we had been doing it, and that had been the practice for several years. But then, like, yeah, the areas where we need to maintain social distancing and all, we will have to increase the size of the hall. But whereas if you remember, or if you as you would have made many lounges, we used to make nice swanky lounges for delegates for networking and all. Now what will need to be done is we need to prioritize such activities within the conference venue, that is creating more space within the scientific hall. And when we are talking about lounges and all, either that can be made outdoor without any kind of waterproofing and all. So such facilities, such alternatives to be planned, so that we still try to accommodate within the budget. But I definitely see there will be a hike by at least like 20-30% or more than that. When we work, when we have a new SOPs, we'll be able to determine. But
I can probably sit together with the organizers, PCOs, organizers, and probably come out with a win-win solution for all of us. Coming to Rohit, you have a really good experience in working abroad, and your company does a lot of projects abroad. So, taking inspiration from exhibition abroad, as suggested by, Ravi ji in the beginning, that, there were exhibitions which were happening abroad, but then again, they've got cancelled, and again, it's back to square one from where it all started. So, what inspirations we can take from exhibition abroad, keeping in mind, what service providers are they, like, what are they up to, what practices are they following, what we can learn from there. Share your insights from the international market of service providers for stand construction.
So good you brought it up, Nimit. If we look to our left and our right, as in from India, we notice that China has really made a huge comeback in the exhibitions industry, and on our right, Europe is still struggling. I think we should look at the bright side, that we have crossed one major milestone where the government actually went ahead and recognized B2B exhibitions and said that, okay, now you can go ahead with the SOPs. So now with that in the bag of the industry, now that we have crossed that milestone, as an industry, not just as service providers, but as all of us as stakeholders, we should be looking at getting the momentum started. Let us be real, it will take at least a year, if not more, to get back anywhere close to the momentum where we left it at. But to start the momentum, we need to start with small steps. For that, and coming to the matter of SOPs, there are several SOPs being issued by several kind of businesses. They are being followed in different ways. The scare, so to say, of Corona is only decreasing by the day. All of us are seeing that. Malls are reopening, cinema theaters are reopening. People are also started to taking mini holidays, flights, and everything. Because it's happening, So same way, I feel that exhibitions and events, we should make it more accessible to our participants and visitors. We should find the intelligent ways to keep the cost the same, not lower it maybe, but keep the cost the same, and look at it as a revival year that we as a fraternity will have to do. A venue, if I speak just off the cuff, speaking my mind aloud, a venue could maybe offer a few extra days of build up or an extra day of the exhibition period, so that the congestion is spread. The visitors can come in divided over 4 days or 5 days. So that makes it an incentive for the organizer, an incentive for the exhibitor and the visitor, and so on. Maybe also, if possible, for the setup days. So let's look at it as a year of revival. Let's make most of the fact that we have got a reopening approval from the government. And let's brainstorm together and try to keep the same cost level, and at least let not people forget that exhibitions and events have their own charm.
Right, right. So, do you see any exhibitions happening abroad, like in Europe? Like, what are have they taken any special steps which we can follow? Any tips on that?
So in Europe, very few exhibitions have practically happened. Whatever few ones happened were of a very domestic scale. So Caravan alone was an exhibition which happened earlier this month in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
However, the bigger ones with international participation, like Wire and Tube, has also been called off in Düsseldorf.
Mm-hmm.
One interesting example I must share with everyone is that Kohlmesse, which is the city of Cologne in Germany, Messe has actually set up a demo exhibition, and they are inviting organizers and the state government and the health bodies. And what they're doing in this demo exhibition is that they have made X amount of booths, stands, and they have demonstrated how these would work, how these would facilitate a contactless journey for the visitor, how would avoid congestion at various points. They have used technology to a great extent. They have installed apps which the visitor can see that which hall has is in a red congestion area or a orange congestion area. So all these kind of things, they've actually put up a live demo in the hall, and they've kept it there for 1 month. Only a measure, and then they're inviting the press as well. So that is a very concrete step taken by the exhibition industry to build confidence, to regain visibility all across.
All right.
I think now with the SOP in place, we should also look at some concrete measures to
I get it.
move forward.
So, okay. Thank you, Rohit, for your sharing your insights. Raviji, coming back to Raviji. So, when we look at the entire industry, so the major role is done by it all starts from organizers. So you are also one of the leading organizers. You do really large scale shows, and I've in fact myself seen quite a few shows of yours. And you're also one of the when we talk about the Maharashtra region, you're also one of the leading venues. And industry is badly hit. You're both when from both the perspective, as organizers, as venue, both the businesses are affected currently. So as shared by Ashish and Santosh and also by Rohit, everything is connected with each other, so it's a round circle. So when as organizer, when you would want an exhibition to happen at a certain venue, you would want probably as organizer would want probably more number of days, more number of more square meter of areas. Earlier, if you were doing in, let us say, 10,000 square meters, you would want probably 12 to 14,000 square meters area, which is 20 to 30% extra. Likewise, from organizers' point of view, it may lead to direct increase in cost, which may not be which may not be accepted very well with the exhibitors, because they may not look at this side of the internal steep increase in cost. And when you look at venue point of view, as a venue, when organizers comes to you, they might ask you for more number of days, more number of halls probably, and they may not be very accepting the increase in cost. Also, then you also have to ensure that venue is compliant with COVID-19 measures. Where do you see venues across the country as on date, when we talk about as early as next year, from let us say Feb onwards, we see a couple of shows which have been announced already. Where do you see, like, how prepared venues are to start restart the exhibitions, to gain the confidence of organizers? And then my second question to you would be, what do you think, how would the cost impact would be managed from both the perspectives? Because it is an increased cost for you. You have to do an extra probably you'll have to have extra team to ensure your venue is a COVID compliant venue. So over to you, Raviji.
Yes, very valid and very important questions, and very relevant in today's context. But on one side, now after this post-COVID, as we have been hearing from other panelists also, the ratio of one,
Raviji Nimit, am I audible?
yeah,
Yes, yes, very much.
Yeah, hi, this is Girish Kawatra. We'll have to just wrap it up in next 5 minutes. Raviji, next 3-4 minutes for you, just wrap up. And then, of course, Nimit for his concluding notes, because we have to next session is going to go live at 3 o'clock from here.
yeah, no problem, Giriji. 3 minutes is good time.
Yes. Please go ahead, Raviji, for your comments, and Nimit for your concluding note after that. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Nimit, as we were saying that, on one side, now we feel the stress on planning that there has to be more area per person, like in terms of square meters or so, or the organizers feel that there has to be more time for other things, like they need to have more setup time and other time. So these are more. But always remember that this will add cost to everyone. And now when we are battling post-COVID to regain our business, what is more important will be we remain cost effective and we remain very competitive. So in that we'll have to find a golden mean that it's not, and secondly again, we are not after numbers now. Nobody will boast that we are having maximum visitors or per stall or per this thing, but what we are looking at a more focused and more niche. So I think what we need to have now, we need to change our focus a little bit. While organizers have to focus their this thing that they do a very focused kind of events, they invite very proper niche, do a very appropriate time duration of the event also, and as wherever it's required, I think event the venue operator will have to cooperate by giving more to them, because even they are fighting for the business now. But what a point I was driving that here now, when you feel that bigger venues will have a better chance of offering facility for the event organizers, most of the bigger venues are having a problem that they were already been taken for the COVID hospitals, or some of them have been released, or some are still carrying that COVID facility. So even the venues are not free, and they do not know when it will be entirely free. So that is another challenge we have for some time to come. I expect maybe another couple of months, this venue will have time for that. But yes, as you rightly said, all this venue needs to be a COVID compliant, not only COVID compliant from this health and hygiene point of view, but here they have to understand that for some time to come, this hybrid event will be a reality, because all participants which can look for or event organizer can focus on to visit physically will be domestic for some time to come because of the restriction. So all international delegates or the speakers will have to be join them on a virtual platform. So the venues have to upgrade them in a big way technologically, so that it becomes seamless to do this kind of hybrid events. And of course, the sanitization part, that other isolation centers part, or whatever is required now, as we follow in the security, so all thermal scanning, involve using technology so that there is a minimal human interface for visitor or delegate while moving around the exhibition has to be followed. So I think the venues who will implement this sooner will have a better chance. And yes, I think today it's no longer that somebody can dictate the terms. Venue will say, these are my rules, you have to comply with this. Organizer will say this, but I think today is the time that to revive this industry, venue operators, event organizers, and all other service providers will have to work as a team. We'll have to see that how soon and how best they can execute the event, so that all concerned feels, as as rightly expressed by Ashish and some other member, that you all should feel confident that your team, your visitors, your clients feel safe to come there, and you deliver a good experience. So at all the contact points, you have to take the care. So I think what requires now is a good coordination between all the service provider, organizer, and venue operator. And with this positivity, I think suppose we shortlist something and start doing the events, because the biggest confidence gainer will be the demonstration that the events are happening, and they're happening following all these parameters. It's not on paper, but yes, on ground also, you are implementing it, you are following it.
Very
So
well,
unless you
very well.
demonstrate, we will not be able to convince people.
Very well said, sir. Very well said. I fully agree with you. And I'd like to thank all the panelists for taking our time today and sharing their insightful and great experiences and giving an overall overview of the situation and discuss the way forward. So I think it was very fruitful discussion we have had today, and time is not by our side. It's already 3 o'clock. We had 1 hour for discussion, but I think there are still lots of things which are in my mind which I would like to ask and probably take it forward. But this is we are already over on time. I once again thank you all the panelists, and special thanks to the ICB team, Mr. Quatra, and the entire governing board members team for giving us this opportunity to present, to do a seminar on role of service providers to meet the demand post like during and post COVID in the MICE industry. So thank you everyone. Thank you for taking your time, and have a good day ahead.
Thank you, Nimit.
Thank you, Nimit. Thank you, ICP.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, ICPB.
Look forward to meet you. Thank you.
Good day.
Thank you, Mr. Nimit Soni and all the panelists. What a great learning in this virtual session. Once again, a warm welcome in the 13th Conventions India Conclave organized by India Convention Promotion Bureau.